asked us to come before the congregation and witness. I had no clue to what I was going to do, but he's not here today. So, I think I'm safe. I just wanted to let everyone know about us and our family. I am a hometown girl. I was born in New Brunswick, was baptized at Sedan Street Reformed Church, and grew up in North Brunswick. We made the big move after we were married to East Brunswick, but this is still our church home. My first memories of church are when we had the chapel up on the hill. I was in the junior choir and used to sit and watch everybody, what they were doing, and have a good time with my friends, which probably wasn't the best, but it was a good memory for me. I remember when we had the groundbreaking and laid the cornerstone for this church. I also remember my father, who was an elder at that time, speaking with my mother about how Reverend Finger and he and the consistory were they just didn't know whether we could take on that much of a debt. But they put it in God's hands, and our church was built. We've had some really good times, we've had bad times, but we've come through for 95 years. I remember being in Sunday school. I remember helping with church dinners, helping with Bible school, and being in the youth group. When I belonged to the youth group, our leader was a seminary student from the New Brunswick Seminary at Forest Hill. And we had some really good times with him. Some of you may remember him. His granddaughter was married here in the spring, so the connection still stands. When I was in the youth group, we had a chance to go to a Bible camp in the Poconos, and we went, quite a few of us went for the week. And that is where I found Jesus, and I took him as my Savior and went on my journey. Unfortunately, that did not prevent me from making some really big mistakes along the way. At the age of 17, I met a man who was 25, so the age difference was pretty great. But unfortunately, we decided we were going to get married. So we eloped to Maryland and were married when I was 17. My plan had been to go to nursing school after graduating from high school. But one day I was called down to the principal's office and asked if I really and truly was married. Now you have to remember that this was 1963 and the rules were a little bit different back then. I admitted that I was married, and they told me that I couldn't remain in school until I went before the Board of Education, and they approved. And me in my wisdom said, forget about it, I'm just not going back. So I did not graduate from high school. No surprise to anyone, after about 3.5 years, my marriage ended. And my parents, with love, let me move back in with them. At the time, I had a little toddler girl, our first daughter, Amy, and I was pregnant with my son. I made friends with the girl across the street, and she had a son that was the same age as my daughter, so we became really good friends. And she kept saying to me, have I got a guy for you? Now, if any of you have heard those words coming from a friend or a relative, you know it's not good. But guess what? That man was Ralph. And the rest is history. We've been married for 45 years. He's done a wonderful job putting up with me for that long. After 2 more babies, and when my youngest was starting school, I really still wished to become a nurse. That was my dream since of being a very young woman. Through the grace of God and an understanding husband, I was able to go to college and get my nursing degree. So in 1981, I was one of the oldest in the class, but I did become a nurse. Looking back, I know that God had and has a plan for me. As many times as I have gone the wrong way, He has sent me blessings and brought me back to where I'm supposed to be. I know now, looking back, that I wasn't ready to spend 4 years in nursing school after graduating from high school. I would have flunked out the first semester. I was just not where I was at that point. I also learned about picking the wrong person to marry. And that was a life lesson because I make a lot of mistakes, but I try not to make them twice. And I didn't. At the prayer service Friday evening, Frank had asked me how I felt when I first became an elder. My father was an elder here in the church for over 20 years. My husband was an elder for a period of time, and so was my sister. I couldn't answer him right away, but as I thought about it, I felt like I was coming home, and I was where I was supposed to be. Thank you.